Funding for the Lazy Bedhead channel was provided by viewers like you. Thank you.
Hi. I'm starting to think that dressing up as different YouTubers when I make these types of videos, I think it's giving the wrong impression. I feel like that it's insinuating something that it is not meant to insinuate. I don't know why I do this for a living. I don't know what the creative choices were. Which is why I would like to remind my audience that
Yeah, no, we're not doing this again. I think at this point I need to start writing new material. And the best part is you guys can actually help me do that by liking and subscribing. Hooray! Also, following me on Patreon and giving me $1 if you guys want to do that, that'd be really great. Also, follow me on Twitter and Instagram and do all the things you normally do. I have to say this at the very beginning of the video, otherwise you guys might forget. Anywho, back to your regularly scheduled whatever.
Also, I'm not supposed to be the wolf man from Puss in Boots. I'm supposed to be Theft King. I don't think this portrays that at all. It is the king. Wait. It is the king. How do I put this crown on my head? Wait. Shit, hold on. It is the king of Five Nights at Freddy's. I figured since the crown was up for grabs, I thought I'd take up the mantle because, well, I think people deserve a sound-minded individual at the helm.
Who wants my crown? King of Five Nights at Freddy's crown, 99 cents, marked down from 5. Old king sucks dong.
And since I've been a fan of the gaming franchise Five Nights at Freddy's since it first came out when I was 14, I have the added benefit of being a FNAF kid on top of that. So, what better candidate could you possibly want, honestly? I'm gonna take this off because I look stupid. It's a killer crown, though. I got this at a mermaid festival. I think it's neat. I say this franchise needs a sound-minded individual, and I'm dressed like this. Yeah. The Five Nights at Freddy's franchise should not have lasted as long as it has. But it did, and because it's been around for so goddamn long, a lot of people have been able to make a living off of the franchise, and its never-ending list of fan games. Five Nights at Freddy's is one of those games that has survived the test of time through its indie development scene. It's kind of crazy because even though newer installments in the franchise do exist and are official releases in the series, Five Nights at Freddy's lives on through its many gaming developers and creators of fan games and fan series. And the reason why this fan base is so prominent today is not just because of the idea of haunted animatronics being so interesting, but it more has to do with the delivery of the franchise's premise being a miss overall. The Five Nights at Freddy's story became so convoluted and confusing that the franchise lost any of the scare factor it would have had if it had not decided to veer from this simple premise. And that's what most of these fan games and fan video series try to do, which is bring the concept back to its original form of fear. Because of this, the FNAF fanverse community is bigger than it has ever been. And some of these releases coming out of the fan game sphere are somehow even better than the original games themselves. And with so many of these games to talk about, it would give rise to the fan game reviewer. If you have ever been even slightly interested in the fan game community, then you know exactly the type of YouTubers that I'm talking about. There's, oh yeah, with the dumbest name for a YouTube channel I've ever seen. I mean, it's not any better than mine. It sort of says the quiet part out loud. At least I don't just go, yeah. That's it. Or Plain Trace with the plainest voice narration I've ever heard.
And let me appreciate how polished this game really is. There's also a ton of extra content outside of that I want to talk about.
The Baddest, who has a username out of YouTube circa 2006, and Postra, who scares me. All jokes aside, there are a lot of FNAF YouTubers out there that center their entire careers off of anything Five Nights at Freddy's. And I mean it when I say their entire channels are dedicated to just this one thing. Even if the connection to the games are incredibly loose and so insignificant, they'll still make a whole video about it because it's vaguely FNAF related. Or at the very least, indie horror related, as not everything they talk about is FNAF exclusive. Some contenders to this lineup of topics include titles such as Poppy Playtime or Bendy and the Ink Machine, Hello Neighbor, and for whatever reason, Garden of Ban. I guess the best way to describe these guys is that they are the indie horror reviewers on YouTube. But FNAF is a specialty in the sense that Five Nights at Freddy's is the predominant reason why indie horror is so popular now. Even though functionally all of these games are different, they all vaguely resemble each other in concept. Seemingly innocent setting or character that actually turns out to be a total nightmare. And look, I don't know if this is art imitating life or life imitating art, because the YouTuber that we're going to be talking about today seemed innocent in his character, but also ended up being a total nightmare. That's right, I'm talking about Theft King. You see what I did there? You saw that, didn't you? You see how I related the concept of mascot horror to the person that we're going to be talking about today? God, I'm good. The main theme that you will see going forward with this video is that Theft King has the weirdest ego I have ever seen. Now let's talk about what having an ego is and what that means before we dive headfirst into the drama farm that never seems to end with Theft King. Now, the criticism of having an ego online is something that I feel gets overinflated quite a bit, because having an ego isn't necessarily a bad thing. The concept of an ego in psychology refers to an idea proposed by Sigmund Freud. In psychoanalysis, the id, the ego, and the superego are the three structures of the human psyche. The id is the set of instincts that are ingrained in human nature. You know, so things like feeding yourself when you're hungry or getting bed rest when you're sick, drinking water when you're dehydrated. These are all things that we unconsciously know that we need to do in order to obtain our basic needs. So basically, primitive monkey brain instinct. Water, banana, repopulate, repeat. The ego is a self-assessment of one's worth. It's the portion of the human psyche that experiences oneself. The ego helps us consciously perceive our reality. Hence why having this ego isn't necessarily a bad thing. The ego, in ways, helps us understand one's self-worth. And I don't think having a sense of self being important enough to matter is an undesirable thing. People need to feel like they matter. They need to feel like that they're necessary. And finally, there is the SuperEgo. SuperEgo is basic morality. This is how socially we consciously see the world around us. Like, for instance, this video being critical of the actions of another person that I see online. That would be the use of my superego. It's the critical analysis of social structures and standards, human behavior, and outside interactions that conflict with your own sense of morality. So now that we've established these terms and sort of explained why having this structural psyche isn't a bad thing, let me explain to you why, in this case, it most certainly is. I want to reiterate, Theft King is a YouTube content creator with the weirdest ego I have ever seen. Despite being one of the fastest indie horror YouTube channels ever, despite amassing over 350,000 subscribers, and despite being one of the figureheads in the FNAF community, working with and befriending many fanverse creators in the past, Theft King still has this sense that no one really knows who he is, and he equates himself to being a nobody. To highlight this state of ego that this guy has, I want to play these two clips together. Keep in mind, he said both of these things on the same live stream.
And the funniest thing is, again, 99% of FNAF fans see that video and they go, who the fuck is Theft King? The fact that you think anyone gives a shit about me enough to watch a video about me is insane. It's like it shows that you're so out of touch, SleepLIVE. Yeah, you're very out of touch. Everyone who does this stuff, everyone who talks shit about me like on Twitter and stuff like that, doesn't realize that 99% of the community doesn't know who the fuck Theft King is. I guess he was waiting for his opportunity to try to go for me, but you swing at the king, you best not miss. And these fucking guys missed.
You see what I mean? Theft King does have this sense that his word is important enough to matter, and having that sense of importance is vital when platforming yourself as a critic to the indie horror scene. When you're making your criticisms online, you want to present them as if they are constructive and worth listening to. But if you also downplay your role in the community, then why should anyone listen to you? It's mostly because Theft King uses this sense of ego death as a defense mechanism.
Don't let anyone confuse you into thinking that Johnny Blocks is punching up. He's not. He's not. I may have a lot more subscribers than him, but he is far more of an established YouTuber than I. You're punching up. Well, no, I wasn't even punching. I didn't attack this guy. I would never attack Johnny Blocks. 10,000 fucking followers. So let no one believe that this guy was punching up just because he has like no subscribers on YouTube and I have a slightly more. Make no mistake, if anyone was weaponizing their audience against me, it was this guy.
Whenever Theft King is involved in a controversy or is under pressure from his community, he tries to shrink himself smaller than he actually is, so that his community coming down on him looks worse in comparison because they're no longer punching up, rather they're punching down. And this, in turn, creates a sense of victimization that Theft will use to his advantage. The way that Theft has gone about tackling online vitriol is by creating a scenario where he's being unfairly attacked, and to convince the public that he is smaller than he actually is. However, the numbers don't lie. This sense of self is very evident, and yet the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and thinking that you're gonna get a different result. So let's see Theft King try to kill his ego to garner victimhood, only to fall flat on his face each and every time. We're gonna sit back, relax, and enjoy yet another insane, weird, lazy bedhead video. Poppy Playtime is an indie horror franchise that has come under fire for a lot of the developers' offline treatment of other creators, as well as being shady in their business dealings when it comes to promotional content for the game. I won't go super into detail about it because it's a pretty complicated situation, but I will have linked in the description and right up here a great breakdown of the Poppy Playtime situation by both Dags and some ordinary gamers. Now, Theft King was one of the first creators to be publicly critical of the games, from a lack of gameplay not justifying it being considered a full game to put money to the shady nature of offering merch right out of the jump for what is seemingly a tech demo. Theft King wasn't a fan of the franchise, and following the controversy with Echo Coaster, vowed that he would not be buying any more Poppy Playtime related content, or covering any content coming from Enchanted Mob.
These are the people behind Poppy Playtime, and I don't want to support them. However, with Enchanted Mob presumably being the primary beneficiary of Poppy Playtime's success, I can't in good conscience purchase any future chapters of the game or support these people in any way. I believe that they were put through hell by these people, and all while they were just a kid. And when you combine it with NFTs, the movies, the animated cartoons that they're double posting to YouTube, it just looks like a cash grab, and it's not something that I can support anymore. It's a shame because I'm sure Isaac and a lot of the other people working at Mob Games to bring Poppy Playtime to life really do care about the series and the game. I just don't think that the people on top do.
The controversy around the company from the community was growing, with the added pressure from the videos that were blowing up about their shady business practices. Videos like Theft King and Dag's video on the situation would escalate this drama further, to the point of completely boycotting the game and destroying the sales revenue. So Zach and Seth Bellinger, who are the founders of Enchanted Mob, released a statement addressing Echo Coaster specifically. Theft King would make a video about their apology, pulling it apart on his channel.
It sucks because if there was less damage control and PR rep speak in this apology, it would actually come off reasonably genuine. However, all of these attempts to try to insulate Mob Games and Poppy Playtime specifically from this controversy ends up making the whole thing come off as really fake. Zach, you are the CEO. You're the president. You're the executive producer. Everyone else involved are among the first names of the credits. Poppy Playtime is your project, and yeah, your past actions absolutely reflect on it. I'm sorry, but no matter how many people you hire, you remain the primary beneficiaries of Poppy Playtime's success. You're asking people to ignore your actions for the sake of your employees, yet you conveniently omit that you probably stand to make millions of dollars if the franchise continues to succeed, maybe more.
And it would seem that the community's opinion was set in stone. Poppy Playtime was a cash grab. Theft's standing with the community at this point in time was mostly positive. Their platform that was garnering a massive following incredibly quickly was holding a huge company accountable for being abusive to other creators and to their own community. That was until Theft interviewed Zach Bellinger. Now, getting an interview with the person that you've been critical of this entire time isn't necessarily a bad thing. Hell, doing so might bring an end to this feud altogether. And from the viewer's perception, it kinda was, except it was in this weird sense that Theft seemingly abandoned all of his vitriol and mudslinging that he was bulldozing towards these guys. Now, controversial take here for a second. I don't think changing your opinion on a topic that you've been negative about in the past is necessarily a bad thing, especially when that switch comes from actually speaking to the person that you were so critical of. If getting a chance to make amends and become friendly with a person that you were so critical of is considered a bad thing, I mean, fuck, I guess me and TCR can't be friends anymore. Also, Zach and Seth do seem pretty remorseful for what happened between their team and Echo Coaster. However, what you have to keep in mind is that after this interview, Theft was still super critical of their behavior, putting all of the blame on Zach. Yet despite this public disdain for Zach, he was able to obtain access to Poppy Playtime Chapter 2 for free, despite saying how he wouldn't be reviewing any further chapters out of principle of not wanting to promote it.
I didn't expect to ever play Poppy Playtime Chapter 2. I made a big statement telling people not to buy the game, and I personally don't believe in pirating games, although it's none of my business how you or anyone else gets their games. The point is, I assumed that there wouldn't be any way for me to play it. However, after our interview, I ended up asking Enchanted Mob for a free copy of Chapter 2, almost as a joke, but to my surprise, he actually gave one to me. Thus, I was able to experience the game without giving any of my money to them, which was nice, though unexpected. I also played the first 2 chapters of Echo Coaster's game Venge, so I was really able to compare the 2 games and see just how much they had in common. I played Poppy Chapter 2 on stream, and I was immediately frustrated by my inability to turn off the horrible grain filter.
Now, technically, he said he didn't want to monetarily support the game, so being able to access the game for free isn't directly supporting it. But you know what would be? Streaming Chapter 2 and making an entire review on it and seemingly promoting it to your audience. I mean, at this point, you already got to play the game for free. You might as well make promotional content out of it. Now, like I already said, it's not a bad thing to change your opinion on what you've been critical of in the past. But let's not forget that this entire thing, from criticizing the game to criticizing the developers to then pushing all the blame of the Echo Coaster situation on the one person you interviewed, to then promoting the game through playing it for free, all of that happened within the span of a month. When Theft talks about Echo Coaster, the animator and developer who got fucked over by Enchanted Mob, Theft seemed so upset that this young and promising creator was kicked from the community because 2 people seemingly hated this kid, and that's exactly what Theft would go on to say. He said that Seth and Zach actively hated on this kid.
I think you hated Echo Coaster. I don't know if it was the contract situation, the fact that they found success with videos similar to yours. I have no idea. I'm sure lots went on between the two of you. However, at the end of the day, a kid who was inspired by you reached out to you and you stepped on him. Coaster abandoned the animation community entirely over their interactions with you. You and your friends were legends of the YouTube animation scene, yet you drove a young, aspiring animator who looked up to you to abandon their art entirely. That is the greatest animation sin that anyone can commit.
Don't be so dramatic.
He speaks passionately about the impact that these people had on this person for chasing him out of the animation community altogether. And yet, despite feeling so passionate about getting a sense of justice for Echo Coaster, he still went on to play Poppy Playtime Chapter 2 anyways, because Zach decided to be remorseful in an interview and gave him access to the game for free. If Theft really did feel as passionate as he did for Echo Coaster, and exactly what happened to him, why would he still support the company and their products? What would even be the point of that? It just felt like emotional manipulation for the sake of fueling his morality, only to abandon it once he knew that he could make more content out of all of this. Regardless, I don't think that the Poppy Playtime situation is the absolute worst that we got out of Theft King. It's simply just a change of opinion, and despite how hard Theft King batted for Echo Coaster, it's not like these two were friends that have ever talked or knew each other directly, so all of this is nothing really community rattling at all. So if this didn't get people to hate Theft King, then what exactly did? So this series of events is very annoying to go over, mainly because everything that I'm about to say is gonna sound like the pettiest thing on the planet. And you know, it's because it is. Like, this whole drama went from such a small interpersonal thing that was settled on Twitter, but Theft King is so paranoid that everyone is out to get him that he just had to embellish the situation that was already settled like months before. So there's this little indie fan game in the FNAF community. Don't know if y'all have heard of it. It's called Afton Build. You might have heard of it from Markiplier playing it, or the controversy that surrounded the decision to pull it from the fanverse. The creator of Afton Build, Jelly Liam, came onto Theft King's channel to speak on his negative experiences working with Scott Cawthon. Such complaints consisted of poor communication, lack of understanding the specific requirements needed to join the fanverse initiative, lack of funding for their game project. And then after months of working on the project with no word from Scott, the project was pulled from the fanverse altogether. Theft's coverage and interview painted a negative image not just of Scott, but the fanverse initiative as a whole, painting only a negative image of what working on this project was like. Many people took issue with this one-sided approach. This is not to try and downplay what the developer went through, by the way. It's the literal definition of developmental hell. But this video was nothing less of a hit piece against a community that has all different types of people working together to bring successful games to a massive audience. It also didn't help that Jelly Liam also gave information to Theft during this interview that broke the conditions of their NDA that they had to sign when working under Scott Cawthon.
You see, when you sign a contract to enter the fanverse, or even start negotiations to enter it, you sign a contract. Typically, a big part of that contract is a non-disclosure agreement, or NDA. This is basically a legal agreement made between two parties that prevents certain information outlined by the NDA from being disclosed to others outside of the agreement. Many began to realize that it was extremely likely that Liam had broken his NDA by revealing covered information to Theft King. Quote, "Whatever it is, I've decided to share the information. If Scott deems it inappropriate, he can send a cease and desist for a game I am no longer developing. That's all the leverage he has. Was it in the best taste? That you have to judge for yourself."
Needless to say, the situation was a mess that had Kane Carter, who essentially became a spokesperson for the initiative, to take notice of Theft's constant negative press towards the indie horror scene as a whole. According to Theft King, as he explains in a live stream that will get more into detail later, Kane Carter asked Theft to reach out to him on Twitter in regards to his video on Afton Build. However, in private conversations on Discord, Kane explains to Theft that he didn't reply to the messages on Twitter, mainly because he never received the notifications for their messages.
If you're interested, I'm open to giving give more info, or have a chat about the fanverse and the development of these fan games. I'm available via Twitter DMs if you want to start something. Guys, I was so happy because I'm still an up-and-coming YouTuber at this point. I didn't have any connections. I didn't know anybody. I was really excited about this tweet, which is why when I look at it now, it's really sad.
Halfway through the video, he also mentions that I had ignored his DMs on Twitter, despite him knowing that I didn't, in a clarification that I sent to him 3 months ago. I genuinely do not know why that's in the video. It serves no purpose aside from making me look rude.
And it got buried under all of his other notifications. So they moved the conversation over to Discord instead. Now this was all roughly a year ago now, and although this situation seemed to have resolved itself at the time, a boiling pot was brewing beyond the surface. To give further context on who Kane Carter is and his importance to the FNAF community outside of his role as the PR spokesperson for the fanverse, Kane Carter is the creator of the FNAF fan game Pop Goes. Pop Goes is expected to get another installment with Pop Goes Evergreen. In June of last year, a Discord group known as The Pair, which consisted of fanverse developers like Ultranite, who was the creator of the FNAF fan game Chompers. There was also Mechless, who was the creator for Project Readjusted, and most devastatingly at the time, there was the Juniors developer Ramanoff. These three would come together to gather exclusive content from fan-first projects like Pop Goes and leak all of its content to the public. Not only did this group put a lot of fan games at risk of being leaked, but it also ruined the reputation of unreleased projects, as many people playing with this leaked content assumed it to be the official release of these games, even though the projects were unfinished and leaked out when they weren't ready. This drama, which ruined the reputation of these three developers, canceled many anticipated projects that were in the works during this controversy, such as Five Nights at Juniors, which a lot of people were looking forward to. Fortunately, the Juniors development team was able to transfer all of that data of the game to another developer, and we did eventually get to see Five Nights at Juniors come out. But as for any Chompers related developments, and for Project Readjusted, those games are completely canceled and removed from the fanverse entirely. This prompted many, including Theft King, who covered the drama, to declare that the fanverse was dead, and that no new games would be coming out of the initiative because of all of the wrongdoings of these three people. Except that was far from the case. One thing that you'll notice with Theft King is that his thumbnails play heavily into clickbait. Clickbait is when you use the thumbnail or the title of a video to redirect your audience, and Theft's videos surely leaned into this quite a bit. The end of the Fazbear fanverse is just a lie. The fanverse wasn't coming to an end, and the pair wasn't the reason. So why make a video like this at all? Because Theft King likes to fearmonger. You see, flashy titles like this that signify the end of a huge game community is kind of what Theft gets off on. So, seeing this continued use of clickbait in the FNAF community that projected this idea that the fanverse, which he is a part of, is done and no longer creating new content, he makes a tweet reflecting on his thoughts on the clickbait in the community. Now, to clarify, Kane is referencing this video by Sheep Rampage, but because someone tweeted in response, Theft King cough cough, Theft would go on a tirade about how he was getting harassment from Kane's community, that he was indirectly supporting by not calling out and maintaining. Also, just sidebar, it's me with the sidebar, hi. How fucking stupid is that to say anyone who doesn't directly control their audience and doesn't condemn harassment anytime their community breathes in the wrong direction is somehow supporting harassment? I mean, to be fair, I always put a disclaimer before my videos and in my description to not harass anyone I talk about on this channel. But still, people are gonna do what they're gonna do. I don't expect my disclaimers to do anything when harassment is inevitable to happen, but I expect better from my audience. Like, my videos are critical video essays that are hours long for no reason, with some light jabs here and there. Can you shut the fuck up and go back to making hot intersex love with your sister, please? Sometimes some heavy hitters. But these videos should never be a declaration to harass anyone. And just in case Theft King wants to say that I'm condoning harassment through this video, I'll say it once and I'll say it again. Don't harass any names mentioned in this video. Like, why do you want his apology anyways? You're not gonna accept it regardless. Also, I'm very sorry that my audio for this probably sounds like garbage, and it sounds very iPhone quality, cause my adapter for my microphone just died on me. I sometimes hate my job. Now, I am not denying that Theft got harassed, and I'm not saying that he never does or anything. Given how he has handled his coverage on Afton Filth that also got controversy, and with the previous Poppy Playtime coverage, people did have their opinions, but it wasn't anything to go running to the hills about. Hell, Kane specified that this wasn't even about Theft King. So unless people didn't see his follow-up tweets, there would be no reason for them to be getting the butt end of this squabble. What this really comes down to was a series of tweets that Kane made where he ensured that the Fanverse initiative is not ending, and that there was plenty more coming out of the community. What was more directed at Theft was this tweet where he talked about Theft King playing Pop Goes Arcade, but during his stream talked about how the initiative was dead. This made Kane feel like Theft's comments made Pop Goes feels like it was part of a failed product. And I can see why he would think that way. Promoting a game that is part of an initiative of promoting and releasing new fan games, but then shitting on that same initiative seems like you're only favoring the one part of it that's not failing. However, the Fanverse still has plenty of games to market and continue to be released, but Theft alleges that he was getting harassed. Theft King would then send this massive message to Kane Carter, basically telling him how Kane is sending his community after him, and that he should make a public apology to him for his statements that continued the harassment. For Theft King, this wasn't even the first time that he did this. Demand public apologies. Theft King has been in private messages with Cocobs and Aiden Foster, demanding public apologies just like he did with Kane Carter. The reason? Theft King has to be seen as a victim. Theft King's standing in the community is massive. Any criticism of his actions and content will be punching up. But by demanding public apologies from these much smaller members, not only does it make it look like his critics are punching down on the little guy, but it puts a spotlight on them as being the harassers that wronged Theft King. Theft King needs to make an example of these people by forcing them to apologize publicly, and will go off on them if their apology isn't good enough. Theft would make a video that serves to be an open letter to Kane Carter, basically painting Kane as a person who just ignored his pleas of protection from the community coming down on him so hard. And this narrative of Kane ignoring and abandoning his good friend Theft King to be devoured by his dogs would be the main accusation that Theft would make going forward. Eventually, there was a live stream that Theft hosted on his YouTube channel, going over this spat that he had going on with Kane, where he seemingly gets very emotional about his relationship to Kane Carter, feeling seemingly betrayed by Kane, who wouldn't stand up for him or respond to any of his concerns in DMs, despite how positive Theft has been in the past talking about Pop Goes.
So at this point, I had messaged him 2 weeks prior, and after he asked me to, and he didn't say anything. Now, yes, I see the check mark is not red, but that doesn't mean anything. He asked me to do it, and so, like, of course, like, why? Of course, I'm gonna reach out. He told me, yeah, reach out to me on D. I need to get that fucking picture. Hang on, guys. I was so happy. Because I'm still an up-and-coming YouTuber at this point. I didn't have any connections. I didn't know anybody. And this was the first time somebody who was, like, in the fanverse. Somebody who has, like, who is important, you know? It was like, wow, like, maybe this YouTube thing is gonna work out. I was really excited about this tweet, which is why when I look at it now, it's really sad.
This is the sort of parasocial relationship seen between these creators, where because Theft has spoken positively about Pop Goes and Kane in the past, that Kane somehow owes Theft King and should provide a form of protection for him, despite the fact that Theft and Kane have never actually met each other or talked outside of Discord and Twitter. It's not like these people were really that friendly, and I think that Theft King misinterpreted their entire relationship. Kane would make a $5 donation to Theft King to check out a tweet thread that was created with an alt account.
Hello?
This thread consists of proof that Kane Carter was not only responsive to Theft King's concerns on Discord, but also that most of the DMs that they had on Twitter, Kane never actually saw. This was something that Theft King blatantly lied about on livestream. Despite the Afton built situation being resolved at this point, he uses this old dispute as dirt against Kane, despite the fact that Kane and Theft settled this 3 months prior. This was proven to Theft King that Kane didn't see his DMs live on stream, and Theft took being called out in real time live on his platform as well as you would expect.
Are you kidding me, dude? Are you kidding? Do you really think this is the fucking venue for this? I DM'd you, I'm begging you to fucking speak to me. I've been begging you, and you've been ignoring me. I didn't do anything. I've been ignoring you. And now you come in private. I'm trying to resolve this in private, and then you come in my fucking live stream and do a donation. Are you serious? Wow, dude. Wow. Now you want to talk to me? You know what? Yes, because I'm so fucking desperate for this to be over. I'm so fucking desperate for you to stop weaponizing your audience against me over a video that fucking Sheep Rampage made, that I'm gonna end this fucking stream and look at this message that you said, because I'm that, even though I don't want to, because I think what you just did is fucked up, I'm gonna do it anyway because that's how fucking desperate I am, in the hopes that maybe this can be finally fucking over.
This would result in a total meltdown in a follow-up live stream, where Theft not only went after Kane Carter, but also Fiznom and Johnny Blocks for seemingly no reason. Even though he just made a video promoting Fiznom's upcoming project FNAF Plus, he would go on to say that Fiznom only got the gig because Scott felt bad for him after removing his FNAF 2 fan remake. And then he just insults Johnny Blocks for literally no reason.
The truth is, Fiznom claims that he got the FNAF Plus position because he told Scott about what the flaws of all the FNAF fan games. I think he really got that position because Scott fucking felt bad for him. There's a million games on FanJolts that are way more egregious in terms of like copyright than Fiznom's. Fiznom's got popular and was good, so Scott had to take it down, but he felt bad, so. This guy is a fucking clown, obviously. This whole thing is hilarious because this fucking idiot, fuck that guy, dude. Wow, I'm shocked. I don't know why he would get into this. I guess he was waiting for his opportunity. I guess he's jealous or something, waiting for his opportunity to try to go for me, but you swing at the king, you best not miss. And these fucking guys miss. Yeah, I think Johnny Blocks absolutely looks like a fucking asshole. Who the fuck do you think you are, dude? And I'm sure he feels like a fucking idiot. You get fucking Johnny Blocks fucking saying, hell yeah, brother, let's jump straight into chasing that bag. Like, who the fuck do you think you are? Johnny, I'm sorry, you're gonna publicly call me out like this. I have every right to do this. I have every right to fucking dunk on you when my video kicks ass. Don't let anyone confuse you into thinking that Johnny Blocks is punching up. He's not. He's not. I may have a lot more subscribers than him, but he is far more of an established YouTuber than I. You're punching up. Well, no, I wasn't even punching. I didn't attack this guy. I would never attack Johnny Blocks. Who the fuck do you think you are, dude? You have no idea, you know, who that, like, so, okay, so when I make the video, I'm getting my bag. So let's look at Johnny Blocks videos and see if he's ever getting his bag. Okay, let's see. Come on, you're covering all the breaking shit too, dude. Sorry that you're not comfortable. Okay, I understand some people aren't comfortable covering the really hard-hitting shit. I get it. It's not for everybody. You need to have a layer of thick skin. Yeah, I would encourage you to watch the video because you're gonna probably feel like a fucking idiot. You're an asshole. God, I can't believe I just said that out loud. I was thinking about Johnny Blocks and I was thinking he's an asshole. And I said just out loud, you're an asshole. Sorry, I shouldn't have done that, but I did, so. 10,000 fucking followers. So let no one believe that this guy was punching up just because he has like no subscribers on YouTube and I have a slightly more. Make no mistake, if anyone was weaponizing their audience against me, it was this guy. In the end, he looks like a fucking asshole. Now, you know, by doing this, he looks like a fucking asshole. You're literally creating the drama. You're literally trying to virtue signal and crowd and like build up clout off of me. That's totally what he's trying to do, you know? What the fuck is wrong with you?
But the cherry on top was when Theft King said that Kane Carter was an evil person who would burn for eternity.
And I always believe that because I always want to believe the best in people. But from what I've seen in the last few days, I think Kane Carter is a vindictive, evil person. You know, I'm not religious, but like if there was a hell, Kane Carter will burn for eternity. Like that's straight up the kind of person I think he is. He's vindictive and likes to see people suffer. That's what his actions have proven.
All of this over DMs that Kane Carter did not see, and harassment that Theft could never provide proof for and got called out on live stream. Now, in complete honesty, in comparison to other FNAF-related controversies, this one comment that seemingly ruined Theft King's reputation is probably the dumbest thing to have ever happened in the FNAF community ever. I mean, yes, it's unhinged. Yes, it is toxic as hell and completely uncalled for. And yes, both sides were being pretty petty, especially when Kane Carter made this twitlonger apology, but it ended up being a rickroll. And this is not to downplay the toxicity that Theft King has displayed to other users, but if I'm gonna be completely honest, as much as Theft King is a dick for saying this, saying that someone would burn in hell over Twitter DMs, I mean, look, he could have said worse. Like, listen, I've heard the Andrew Tate clones say so much worse and do so much worse. Telling someone to burn in hell, like, unless there's like religious trauma behind that, I don't know, man, it just seems like pretty weak. It's about as silly as you can get when it comes to internet beef. As all screw-ups do online, it always follows up with the YouTuber apology, a staple of internet culture. He has a written apology on Twitter and a video on his main page, and I think his apologies are fine, albeit his video apology is literally just his Twitter apology but in video format. This is absolutely a recoverable situation. So how exactly did Theft King fuck up his redemption arc? In March, Theft King would make this video talking about how he was doxxed by an ex-moderator from his Discord, as well as other YouTubers who were critical of him in the past. One of those creators was SleepLIVE, who Theft King labeled as a Theft King content creator.
SleepLIVE is a Theft King content creator who makes videos about Theft King,
despite most of his channel revolving around talking about literally anything else. So according to SleepLIVE, Sleep had connections to some of Theft King's old moderators, who reached out to him to voice their grievances on Theft King after his 2 other videos blew up. His first video, the biggest problem facing the FNAF community, does have Theft King in the thumbnail, but more so uses theft as an example of an overall problem with the FNAF community. It was not intended to be a video directed at Theft King specifically, despite what Theft would like to make you believe. In the same Meltdown livestream, Theft would say that SleepLIVE's video was titled Theft King, the greatest threat to the FNAF community.
SleepLIVE, this guy SleepLIVE who just said that, made a video about me and called it, and he complained, these people complain about me and say my thumbnails are dramatic. They go, he called it Theft King, the greatest threat to the FNAF community. The greatest threat to the FNAF community. What a fucking clown.
Even though 5 seconds of looking for the original video would show that he never claimed that. After this video, and then the follow-up video, my response to Theft King performed fairly well on SleepLIVE's channel, he was approached by ex-community members and moderators of Theft's Discord. They created a group chat that gathered testimonies of Theft's mannerism in his poorly run Discord. However, things got out of hand when SleepLIVE, as suggested in his name, went to sleep that night. Discord user DeBoss42 and FNAF content creator _ obtained Theft King's personal email to spam him with harassing comments and messages. And I'm not gonna make an excuse for that. That's incredibly shitty. There's no place for this level of direct harassment for someone you don't like. And SleepLIVE would agree, as the group chat was promptly abandoned after this occurred, and people from the chat room would reach out to Theft directly to tell him what happened. Now, what happens next is something that shows the pettiness and the need for validation of his victim complex. Theft King, either through a miscommunication or to be intentionally malicious, said that SleepLIVE was part of this doxing of his personal information.
As I said before, I can't stop anyone from talking about me or making videos about me. However, I'm asking _SleepLIVE and anyone else who was in that chat, please leave me alone. Everyone else in this group, please leave me alone. I don't bother you guys. I don't even say your names. I'm literally just making FNAF VHS videos, trying to stay sober and trying to grow my channel. I can't make you leave me alone, but I am asking you to. And if you continue to bother me and harass me and make videos about me in spite of my pleas, I don't think it's gonna look very good for you. There's a group of people on Twitter who are just obsessed with me to an unhealthy degree. I don't know exactly what was said, who participated, who saw the email. I can't know for sure. All I have is the list of the group members, so I just have to assume that all of them were equally involved. If you participate in a chat like this, that's the risk you run.
Despite the fact that SleepLIVE was asleep, his Discord activity shows that he wasn't even in the chat when this occurred.
Now, quick little detail you guys might have missed while I was telling this whole thing. I wasn't involved in releasing the emails or anything. I had nothing to do with the email being released, nor did I approve of it. If I was awake during this time, which, keep in mind, I was asleep while all this was going down, I probably would have told him to knock it off and kicked him from the group chat. But no, I don't even get that opportunity. Now I basically have this big video released by a YouTuber with 300,000 subscribers complaining about me doxing someone when I didn't have anything to do with that whole situation.
The way that these guys did this was shady as hell. Basically, they ripped a video straight from Theft King's channel. Theft King struck the video for copyright. And usually what will happen when you get copyright struck is you'll garner access to direct communication to the company or the person who struck your channel. So Theft had his email leaked because he was using the copyright system as intended. Now this whole situation is fucked, and Theft King has every right to approach this the way he did. His video wasn't necessarily wrong. He was 100% in the right to call this out and feel the way he does about all of these creators. But it was the fact that he tied a much smaller YouTuber into this, despite the fact that the chats clearly show his inactivity and lack of response line up with him not being awake during this time. So no, despite what Theft wants you to believe, SleepLIVE didn't dox him, nor is he this obsessed creator who makes nothing but Theft King videos. He made 4 videos out of the several others talking about video games and online video game communities. I just find it funny that Theft tries to shame Sleep for memeing on his live stream's original thumbnail by replacing it with Walter White, and he attributes this to Sleep shaming him for being a recovering heroin addict?
All I know about SleepLIVE is that they made a drama video about me with Walter White in the thumbnail, which is kind of a dick thing to do to someone who's a recovering heroin addict.
Okay, hold up. Wait a minute. Where the fuck did the heroin come from? Like, hold the fuck on, dude. What? Heroin? In the FNAF community? I could never. Would that mean that theoretically Breaking Bad is triggering for drug users? Or does Breaking Bad serve as like one of those scary anti-drug PSAs? I just find it really funny that Theft King has PTSD and gets triggered by Walter White's face. Anyway, so here's where we are at with this situation. We have a group chat that has 2 people doing some fuck shit. People abandoned the chat and told Theft that this was DeBoss and underscore. And then somehow Theft says it was SleepLIVE, when in reality, true to his name, he was asleep when this happened. So honestly, I don't really think that this was a miscommunication this time. It was blatantly told to Theft King by multiple people from this chat that Sleep had nothing to do with this. And yet Theft King would still blame him anyways. A 350,000 subscriber YouTube channel just lied to 100,000 people that a YouTuber with 5,000 subs tried to dox him, when so many people beforehand told him that Sleep had nothing to do with it. It can only be malicious. Like, I genuinely do not understand how you can be told by people in the group chat one version of the story that they provided with evidence from the chat itself, and somehow still get the story completely wrong. You either wanted to pin this on Sleep intentionally because you really didn't like the videos that he made on you, or you are the worst player of telephone. You are the last kid in that sequence that fucks it up every single time. That's the thing that you will notice too, is that Theft's retelling of events and interpretations of situations are so weird. Like, sometimes I can't tell if he's just intentionally lying or if he's just reaching so hard to a conclusion that no one fucking thought of because the conclusion is so fucking stupid. And here is a perfect example. Lady Fiszi was a FNAF artist who was the creative director behind most of the official artwork for the series, including promotional material, posters, the FNAF book covers, and the graphic novels. Her influence in the FNAF community is pretty significant, with most of her art being the most recognizable in relation to the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. The issues started to arise in the official Five Nights at Freddy's subreddit, where Lady Fiszi would make statements on the subreddit that are incredibly insensitive to the transgender community. Five Nights at Freddy's has a huge LGBTQ audience, and as the official artist of the series, you are invalidating a whole section of the community. Also, I really don't need you to be doing damage control for your outdated opinions. When you're out here writing smut fanfictions of William Afton, the main antagonist of the franchise, getting royal stressed by killing children. And look, I'm not gonna lie, I really don't think that Purple Guy was in such high demand on fanfiction.net. Like, honestly, I don't think anyone was really pining for this sort of interpretation of Purple Guy being a... We'll talk about that one later. We're gonna wait on that one next week, I promise. I mean, I don't have an issue with these gory depictions of things that do canonically happen in the game, like through art form. Like, to be completely honest, I don't think that this piece of fan art is necessarily that bad. But some things we can just, objectively just not have. Like, this was not needed, honestly. Look, by the way, I understand it's a robot character with no concept of age and gender because it's a hunk of metal, but I also understand the context that inside of that robot, there's a little girl in there.
I just don't understand why you gave her fucking titties!
That's a child!
Technically, he's 475 years old.
Then why did you draw him like this?
And here's a weird tidbit, but way back in her DeviantArt, people were finding that she was drawing Nazi fetish art. The internet never ceases to amaze me. On her DeviantArt page, Lady Fiszi would write this long list of things that she likes to draw or write about. This list includes the following: classic lolly, country lolly, goth lolly, bishi, which means beautiful boys. Specifically, boys, not men, as in children boys. Kuro lolly, lolicon, madam lolly, pirate lolly, punk lolly, vampire gothic lolly, shotokan, property, raw, and pedo bear. There is a lot of lolly here. So much lolly. Now, to be clear, a lot of these lolly categories could be talking about different types of Lolita fashion. So, not weird in a sense, but the blatant ones like lolicon and shotokan are interesting. For those of you who don't know, lolicon and shotokan are basically fictional media in which a young girl character or boy, hence shota, appear in romantic or a slow stress context. So it's technically not like child girl because it's drawn characters that don't exist, but it's implied child girl if the context is sexual, but the context also involves a canonically underaged individual. That is bad. Also, I don't know about you, but I don't think I want someone who's into sexualizing children to be drawing official artwork for a game where children are murdered and put inside animatronics. I think that's a given. So, rightfully so, Scott fired Lady Fiszi because she had proven herself to be a clear danger to the community. And people were pretty happy about this overall. And everyone was grateful that this person was held accountable. Everyone, of course, except Theft King.
I was incredibly taken aback when I went on Twitter and saw people cheering about this, celebrating, like partying. Make no mistake, this whole situation sucks. Fiszi being gone doesn't undo the damage that was done. Of course, I'm glad that Lady Fiszi isn't associated with the series anymore, but I'm not happy about the situation. This isn't the time to throw a party. This was the best possible outcome, but that doesn't mean it was a good one. Some justice is solemn.
The myth of justice being served. Isn't there someone you forgot to ask? You know, I have never seen a scenario where a very dangerous person is removed from the community, and the response to that is, why are we celebrating that? Yes, this doesn't necessarily reverse the damage done, but at the very least, this is a good start. So this gets weirdly personal because Theft King then talks about how one of his family members were a victim of fear.
This might have a personal impact on me because one of my family members was...
And I do feel for that, but also, I don't think you have permission to tell this story on the internet. And like, he used this story of his family member being weird as some sort of like example of what he's talking about when he says that we shouldn't be celebrating being caught because his family's wasn't in celebration when their family members was caught.
When the perpetrator of this crime was put in jail, do you think my family threw a party? You think we were celebrating? You think we were happy? You think we were going, yes, we did it? No, of course not. We were horrified. Someone we love was... I'm sure everyone would love to just forget about the situation entirely. Seeing people saying, win Scott, and the beginning of Scott's redemption arc, and all this other obnoxious stuff, it's like, guys, have some respect for actual CSA victims here.
I don't know, I still feel uncomfortable because I genuinely don't think anyone should just casually be talking about someone else's rape like this, especially when talking about like celebrating rapists getting caught. It's very weird. He also gets weirdly mad because Turkey Tom made a video about the creeps in the FNAF community. I don't know what's up with Theft King's issue with holding people accountable, but he gets really pissy about it for no reason. I don't know. Like, it's not gonna reflect great on any community that harbors these type of people, but these people exist in every community that has ever existed ever. To be upset at the community and not the people that make your community look bad is so fucking stupid. Hey, man, did you hear that pedophile from right down the street just got arrested? Yeah, I did hear about that actually. Yes, finally, thank God. I mean, it serves him right. It's finally about damn time he get arrested. I'm so thrilled. Dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? But, like, you know this isn't gonna change the fact that you have 10 kids, right? What? Like, all that still happened. I mean, yeah, but those kids are gonna see justice now. That monster's never gonna be able to hurt them or their friends ever again. I mean, yes, this is the best outcome, but what do you think this is? Some sort of party moment? I don't think this is a party moment. What are you gonna do next? Get out the birthday cake or something? Blow up some balloons? No, what the fuck is wrong with you? I mean, I think it is. Dude, are you okay?
Mommy, I heard that the bad man that touched me is going away forever.
Oh, yes, honey, don't you worry. The bad man's never gonna hurt you ever again. He's going away for a very long time.
Hooray!
Yes. Oh my god, dude, what the fuck? Oh, hooray, huh? Hooray? Well, who does he think he is? Hey, man, he is a child. That's a kid. You literally just punched a kid. This kid is still mentally damaged. Why would you not be happy that a person who hurt so many people is going to jail? This is a person who hurt children, and you're not happy that he's being held accountable for that? If I were his family member, I wouldn't be celebrating this.
Hey, Mommy.
Yes, baby, are you okay?
I think that man that hit me was the guy I saw in Sarah's room.
What? You know what? He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, that's the man who locked the door behind me and hurt Sarah.
You know, I think I should go. Oh, fuck no, you don't. So, what is the big takeaway that took this amount of time for me to get to? No matter how many critical videos that are made on Theft King, no matter how many things he blatantly gets wrong or gets called out for lying, because people are circulating his name, they might search him up and like the content and subscribe. And you know, despite losing over 20,000 subscribers from the Kane Carter situation, he still has a massive audience of over 350,000 subscribers. Hell, despite the SleepLIVE and the Lady Fiszi situation just happening, he still is on the steady up. He hasn't dipped at all in 2023. Hell, even when he was trending on Twitter for the Kane Carter drama, he has more subs now than he did when he was getting cancelled. So, am I just proving his point? Like, even if I do finish this video and release it, all it will effectively do is keep Theft in the public eye, and thus potentially exposing him to my audience who then might become part of his. Even if I'm talking negatively about him, it'll still make some people want to subscribe to him if they like the content enough. But if I don't make this video and don't give him the public attention and platform, then his behavior will continue to just get worse, and his controversies will just fade away into the background, even though he deserves to be called out for these things, and not just have this all be ignored. So, either way, does Theft King win? Like, regardless of what happens, regardless of what anyone says, whether they hold him accountable or they don't bother giving him their time, he's gonna get subscribers and more views and do fine financially anyways. Theft is working off of this idea that any publicity is good publicity. And in a way, I don't think he cares to be held accountable, because all these people are effectively doing is just platforming him on their YouTube pages and dedicating all of this time and energy talking about him. And it feels self-defeating because it's both tackling the problem at the knees, but also giving it some support. But you can't live off of this mentality forever. And Theft King can't continue to make the videos he's making. Not just because his personality will become stale to people who just can't take the toxicity and the drama anymore, but also he makes content that appeals to children. Like, Five Nights at Freddy's is not a kid's game by any means, just based on the content alone, but its audience is. And Theft has shown if he's not going to grow past his controversies, then his channel will reflect that as well. There was a video that he made where he talks about all of the controversies that have happened in the FNAF community, and he talked about his own controversy with Kane, and he lists his controversy as the worst of them all. Jokingly, of course.
My own controversy clearly stands above the rest. For the heinous sin of telling someone who is actively provoking me to burn in hell, I, Theft King, deserve to die. I win.
But this tongue-in-cheek video shows to me that he's not in on the joke. It doesn't show me that he is accepting of the community holding him accountable. It doesn't show me that he agrees that he was out of line, but that he was bitter. And if the feeling you have after being blatantly in the wrong and getting held accountable for what you did is not being sorry, but being bitter, then your apology that you gave means nothing. There is no self-reflection there. But then again, if the numbers aren't affected, then why should you self-reflect at all? I mean, view-wise and sub-wise, monetarily, if that's not effective, then what's gonna prompt change? Listening to a bunch of quote-unquote Twitter people?
In fact, these people only have fucking influence on Twitter anyway, so whatever. I should just stick on YouTube where people an actual social media platform with people on it, where the actual FNAF community is the millions of people who watch Markiplier play FNAF, you know? Not the handful who, you know, are in these, you know, discords.
No way, that's a waste of time. And all they're doing by continuing to keep your name in their mouth is fueling this numbers game that makes your career look unaffected, so why bother anyways? This sense of ego without it being checked by your peers will get you into more and more trouble over time. I think this early ego check could help theft, in a sense, to avoid doing more reputation damage. But if he doesn't take it into account at all because he's so focused on only the views, then I don't know, man. I don't think anything's gonna change anytime soon. As it stands now, Theft King is one of the more hated figures in the FNAF community. Whether or not you think that he deserves that label or not is entirely up for you to decide. I think we have to accept that any type of platforming, whether that be to call someone out or to promote them, is going to prompt an audience to make a choice to either check out their content and support them or to completely agree with your call out. And I think overthinking this and assuming this is just gonna help Theft King, when I don't think it will, by the end of the day, I don't think that fear of my content helping Theft garner a bigger audience should scare me into not calling his ass out when he's being a goofy weirdo. So in conclusion, it's Five Nights at Freddy's, it's not that deep, relax. The end. Thank you all so very much for watching yet another FNAF jump scare compilation. And join me next week when we answer the burning question: is Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure reference? Yes, by the way.
Alright, so I have a theory. Okay, so I was watching Five Nights at Freddy's, right? The Security Breach, new game that just came out. And I noticed that the voice actor for Freddy kind of sounded a little bit familiar, so I looked it up, and Freddy Fazbear's voice actor is actually Kellen Goff. And I wondered, like, I thought that name actually sounded familiar too. Where do I know Kellen Goff from? JoJo Part 5. Kellen Goff actually also voice acts Diablo, the main villain in Part 5, but like, what is his ability? What is his ability? Soul he can transfer his soul into another person, making it possible for him to transfer his soul into Freddy. Though he's not like a person, he's a child, but he can still transfer his soul into it, making it canonically possible that the entirety of Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach is actually a JoJo reference.